everyone. Get ready for a deep dive into a book that's practically a legend, Think and Grow Rich.
We're talking about more than just excerpts, though. We're going to dig into real-life success stories and even how the author himself, Napoleon Hill, found his inspiration.
It's like we're out to crack the code on this magic formula for success.
And you know what's really cool about Hill's approach? He doesn't just hand you a list of tips and call it a day. He guides you through a complete mindset shift, like totally rewiring your thinking. Just imagine Andrew Carnegie, the steel tycoon, right? He tasks you with spending 20 years uncovering the secrets of success.
Okay, talk about pressure. So how does this whole magic formula even begin?
Hill is crystal clear on this one.
Yeah.
It all starts with desire. And I don't mean just kind of wishing for something.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We're talking about this all-consuming, can't eat, can't sleep kind of desire for your goal.
You know, it's like that story Hill tells about Edwin Barnes. This guy was dead set on working with Thomas Edison. But not just any job. He wanted to be Edison's business partner. The crazy part is he hopped a freight train as a stowaway just to meet the guy.
And that's exactly it. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Barnes didn't just wish for it. He chased after it like his life depended on it. Total can-do attitude.
It's incredible how that unwavering belief can make things happen. It's like Edison saw that fire in Barnes and thought, this guy's serious. But there's more to it than just wanting something, right? Hill also talks about this whole faith thing.
Exactly. And it's not about religion, really. It's about cultivating this unshakable belief that you will reach your goal, like planting a seed in your mind and watching it grow. You know, Hill has this really personal example of this. His son was born deaf, but Hill never, ever doubted that he would hear.
No way. What happened? That's amazing.
Hill had this unwavering faith. And incredibly, his son learned to compensate. He even went on to help others with hearing impairments. It's not just a story about overcoming challenges. It's about how powerful belief can be.
Wow, talk about inspiration. It shows how much the right mindset can change things. But let's get practical for a second. Desire and faith are essential ingredients, but you need that knowledge too, right?
Absolutely. Hill actually calls specialized knowledge the gateway to riches. It's all about zeroing in on the exact knowledge you need to crush your goals and going after it with everything. You've got books, mentors, you name it.
And you know, it's interesting. He even talks about those home study courses, you know, the ones people kind of overlook. Even back then, employers were impressed by people who invested in their own learning. And that still holds true today.
He's so right. It's not about knowing everything. It's about always wanting to learn and grow. And you know what else is key? A sprinkle of imagination.
Right. This isn't just for artists. It's for anyone who wants to turn dreams into, well, reality.
Hill makes this distinction. There's rearranging existing ideas, and then there's tapping into that pure creative imagination, those aha moments.
Like realizing that dusty old kettle in your attic could be $1 million idea. Hill actually tells a story about this, doesn't he?
Oh, you're in for a treat. Imagine this. A young guy buys this beat-up kettle and a wooden paddle in an auction, dirt cheap. Well, it turns out, wrapped around that paddle, there's a secret formula for a soft drink. And not just any drink. This was like the Coca-Cola of its time. So this guy, using his smarts and that spark of imagination, turns that formula into a massive success. It created jobs, even funded a college. It's about seeing the potential where you least expect it.
That's wild. It shows that success isn't just about tripping over a lucky break. It's about having the vision to turn it into something big. So, let's see. We've got desire, faith, the knowledge, the imagination. This is already a recipe for something amazing. What's the secret sauce that brings it all together?
Hill's a huge advocate for organized planning. It's about taking all that raw potential, the dreams, the ideas, and hammering them into a tangible plan. Write it down, strategize, and then here's the kicker, take action.
Like that story about Charles Schwab, the guy behind U.S. Steel. Schwab walks into a meeting with J.P. Morgan with nothing but 6 handwritten pages. He had the worth of every single steel company he wanted in this new venture. Talk about a power move.
And it paid off big time. That plan, fueled by Schwab's absolute confidence, scored him a $600 million deal. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Talk about organized planning. Okay, one thing Hill kept coming back to is the power of collaboration, the mastermind. It's about having those people in your corner who share your vision and your drive.
And get this, Hill didn't just preach it, he lived it. He'd hold these nightly council meetings, but not with who you'd think. We're talking about his invisible counselors.
Wait, what? Who are these mysterious figures?
Historical figures. Think Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, even Thomas Edison. Yeah, he'd have these imaginary meetings, almost like debates. Napoleon would be objecting to his ideas on reforming the church, and then Luther Burbank would be chiming in, all excited about grafting techniques for apple trees.
That's wild. But, in a way, it makes sense. He's surrounding himself with these brilliant minds, even if it's just in his imagination.
Exactly. It's like he's tapping into this collective wisdom, this wellspring of knowledge that transcends time. And it reinforces this idea that we can learn from anyone if we're open to it.
I love that. It's like having a direct line to history's greatest hits. Okay, so we've got desire, faith, specialized knowledge, imagination, planning, and the mastermind. It's like building a success staircase, step by step. Now, get ready for a curveball, because Hill throws in a pretty controversial principle: sex transmutation.
Now, hold on. Before you get any ideas, we're not talking about what you might be thinking. Hill's idea of sex transmutation is about redirecting that intense energy, that drive, into your goals, your creative pursuits.
Right, like channeling that powerful force into something constructive. It reminds me of Gandhi. Through his unwavering belief and powerful personality, he inspired millions to take action. He didn't try to suppress that inner fire, he transformed it into a force for change.
Exactly. And you know what comes next? Persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Hill really hammers this point home. He argues that setbacks, they're going to happen, it's inevitable, but it's persistence, that stick-to-itiveness, that separates those who achieve greatness from those who, well, just give up.
He tells this crazy story about Darby, an insurance salesman who lost a fortune in gold mining because he gave up just 3 feet from striking gold.
3 feet, can you imagine the regret? But Darby, he took that experience and turned it into a lesson in perseverance. And you know what? He became one of the top insurance salesmen in the country.
Talk about turning a setback into a comeback. And
Wow.
then there's Kate Smith, the singer. She became incredibly successful because she refused to give up on her dream. It makes you wonder how many people out there give up right before their big break.
It's a good reminder that sometimes success isn't about speed. It's about endurance, about outlasting the challenges and silencing those doubts.
Okay, so we've got desire, faith, knowledge, imagination, planning, the mastermind, sex transmutation, and persistence. Are we forgetting anything? What else is there on this incredible journey?
Well, now we're getting into the more esoteric side of Hill's philosophy. He introduces this idea of the sixth sense. It's like intuition, but amplified. He describes it as a blend of mental and spiritual awareness that connects us to infinite intelligence.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What exactly is this sixth sense, and how do we tap into it? It sounds pretty mysterious.
Think of it like this. Imagine intuition, but on a whole new level. It's about accessing a deeper well of knowledge and understanding that exists beyond our conscious awareness. Have you ever had a gut feeling that turned out to be right,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
or felt inexplicably drawn to a certain path? That, Hill might say, was your sixth sense whispering to you.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. It's like we all have this inner compass, and if we can learn to tune in, we can navigate towards our goals with more clarity and purpose, right? But how do we actually do that? How do we strengthen this sixth sense?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Hill believed this sense could be developed through things like meditation, quiet reflection, and by surrounding ourselves with inspiring ideas and people. Remember those invisible counselors we talked about?
Those nightly meetings with Lincoln, Edison, all those amazing minds.
Exactly. It was one of Hill's ways of tapping into this deeper wisdom.
It's like he was creating his own mastermind group from history's greatest hits.
Exactly. It underscores the importance of surrounding yourself, even mentally, with those who inspire you, who challenge you to think bigger and bolder. Now, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something that can be a real buzzkill fear. Hill identifies 6 basic fears that can hold us back: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
It's interesting because those fears are so universal, so deeply human. It's easy to let them paralyze us, to keep us stuck in our comfort zones.
And Hill is saying, hey, you have more power than you think. Don't let fear call the shots. He even tells this story about a young girl who absolutely refused to be intimidated. She stood up to a grown man who was trying to cheat her mother out of her wages. This girl, full of righteous anger, demanded what was owed, and you know what? The man backed down.
Wow, good for her.
It's a powerful reminder that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's about acting in spite of it. Often, the things we fear most lose their power when we confront them head on.
It's about taking back our power, realizing that we're not victims of our circumstances. We have a choice in how we react, what we believe. Which brings us to another important point Hill makes. America, the land of opportunity. It's interesting because he wrote Think and Grow Rich during a time of economic hardship, yet he remained incredibly optimistic about the potential for success in America.
Absolutely. He believed that despite the challenges, America offered unparalleled freedom and opportunity for those willing to roll up their sleeves, put in the work, and never stop believing in themselves and what they could achieve.
Yeah.
He described a country overflowing with abundance, from the variety of affordable food to the comfortable housing that even people with modest incomes could afford. He acknowledged, of course, that the pursuit of wealth could sometimes lead to greed and exploitation, but he firmly believed that America's free market system, for all its flaws, provided a path to success for those who played by the rules.
He was a big believer in giving back, in contributing to that system that allowed for success, right?
Absolutely. He cautioned against expecting handouts, against demanding more pay for less work, or relying on the government to solve everyone's problems.
He believed that true wealth, material and spiritual, came from providing value to others, from making a positive contribution to society.
He even urged his readers to think twice before criticizing or trying to tear down the very system that had made America prosperous. He pointed to the incredible amount of wealth circulating within the American economy.
He used examples like the booming lipstick industry and the popularity of greeting cards, of all things, as evidence of the incredible opportunity available to those who dare to think big and take action.
He was all about entrepreneurship, innovation, and the power of the individual to shape their own destiny.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Hill's message is clear: success isn't about luck. It's about mindset. It's about cultivating those empowering beliefs and then taking consistent action.
And remember, he challenges us to confront our own susceptibility to negativity. He calls this the devil's workshop of the mind, where those doubts and anxieties like to hang out and sabotage our efforts.
Ooh, I like that, the devil's workshop. It's
Yeah.
so easy to fall into those negative thought patterns, letting fear and self-doubt hold us back. So how do we recognize this devil's workshop within ourselves?
Well, Hill gives us a powerful set of questions to ask ourselves. He asks things like, do you often wallow in self-pity? Do you find yourself envious of those who are more successful than you? Do you surround yourself with negativity?
He even asks, do you have a negative influence on other people? That one's a real gut check.
He wants us to be brutally honest with ourselves, to really dig deep and identify all those subtle doubts and anxieties that might be holding us back.
He suggests seeking feedback from trusted friends or mentors, people who will tell us the truth, even if it's not always what we want to hear.
He stresses that this kind of self-awareness is crucial for achieving lasting success.
He also warns against falling into the trap of if only thinking. If only I had more money, if only I had the right connections. Hill calls this the language of failure.
He argues that successful people, they don't dwell on what they lack. They focus on what they can control: their thoughts, their efforts, their persistence.
He contrasts Henry Ford, who was ridiculed for his early automobiles, with the thousands who worked for him. The key difference, Hill argues, is that Ford controlled his mind, while others allowed their minds to control them.
Ford famously said, "I'll build the earth with dependable motor cars." And you know what? He did.
That unwavering belief, that refusal to give up, that's what makes all the difference. Okay, we're getting close to the end of our deep dive, but there are a few more nuggets of wisdom I want to make sure we touch on. Hill's discussion of the sixth sense was really thought-provoking. This idea that we can access a higher level of intelligence, a source of creativity and inspiration beyond our conscious awareness, is fascinating.
It's a concept that's been explored by philosophers and mystics for centuries, but Hill makes it relatable, applicable to everyday life.
And his own experiences with those invisible counselors, those nightly meetings with Lincoln, Emerson, Edison, show that he really walked the walk.
It reminds us that we can learn from anyone, even those who are no longer physically present, if we're open to their wisdom.
This deep dive has really got me thinking. What stood out to you as particularly insightful in Hill's book? What really resonated with you?
For me, it's Hill's emphasis on the power of the mastermind. This idea that we can achieve so much more through collaboration with like-minded individuals is incredibly empowering.
It's like he's saying we don't have to do it alone. Seeking out others who share our vision can help us achieve things we never thought possible. And I love how he doesn't just leave us hanging with a bunch of principles and say good luck. He gives us a clear call to action. He challenges us to take ownership of our lives, to make a decision to pursue success, and then to go after our goals with everything we've got.
He emphasizes that success isn't some happy accident. It's not about luck or circumstance. It's about making a conscious choice to become the masters of our own destiny.
And then actually taking the steps to get there. He cautions against procrastination, letting fear and doubt paralyze us. He's like, get out there and make it happen.
He even provides practical steps. Create a plan, form a mastermind group, and cultivate those habits of success. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks us through it.
It's a call to action, for sure, to step into our power and create the future we desire.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we've covered the core principles of Think and Grow Rich pretty thoroughly. But before we wrap up, there's one final thought-provoking question I want to leave you with. Hill challenges us to look at how susceptible we are to negative influences. He gives us those questions to ask ourselves, but doesn't really give us a roadmap for getting rid of that negativity. So what are some...
You're right. He's really good at pointing out those mental roadblocks. But sometimes he leaves us hanging a bit on the how-to. But if we're building on his principles, I think awareness is key, right? We've got to really see those negative influences, those doubts that creep in. His list of questions is great, but we can also really tune in to that voice in our heads. Is it cheering us on or holding us back? And, let's be real about the people we surround ourselves with. Are they lifting us up or dragging us down?
So it's not just negativity from the outside, it's also the negativity we create within ourselves.
Exactly. We've got to be honest about those self-sabotaging thoughts. And once we're aware of them, we got to put them on trial. Are these thoughts even true? Are they helping me get where I want to go? If not, it's time to trade them in for thoughts that energize us, that motivate us.
That's a way easier said than done, though, isn't it? Our minds have a way of getting stuck in those negative ruts.
Right, like a broken record sometimes. But that's where autosuggestion comes in. Remember how Hill talked about feeding our minds with those positive statements, affirmations aligned with our goals?
Right, like writing those goals down, visualizing ourselves achieving them, and repeating those positive affirmations every single day. It's almost like we're rewiring our brains for success.
Exactly. It's about forging new pathways, replacing those negative thought patterns with positive ones. It takes work, for sure, and consistency, but it can completely change things over time.
He also emphasized our social circle, that mastermind group, to keep us accountable, to keep us inspired.
So important. The people we spend time with, they have a huge influence on our thinking, our beliefs. If we're always around negativity, it's like trying to grow a garden in a desert. We need to be choosy about who we let into our lives, look for people who lift us up, and maybe create a bit of distance from those who drain us and reinforce those negative patterns.
It's like building a support system for our dreams.
Exactly. Surrounding ourselves with people who believe in us, who challenge us, and who celebrate those victories with us.
Okay, so we've got awareness, challenging those negative thoughts, practicing autosuggestion, and surrounding ourselves with positive people. Anything else for this negativity-busting toolkit?
Well, he'll always emphasize the importance of taking action. We can't just think our way to success.
Right. You've got to get out there and make things happen.
He was really passionate about that. Knowledge without action is like a car without an engine, he said. It's not going anywhere. It's when we put that knowledge to work through those daily actions that we see those amazing results.
He urged his readers to break down those massive goals into smaller, manageable steps, and then to celebrate every single win along the way. He believed that taking action, even those small steps, builds momentum and boosts our confidence. It shifts our focus away from the fear and doubt and towards progress and achievement.
It's about stepping out of our heads and into the world, putting those principles into practice, and learning as we go. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent.
And was Hill ever a believer in persistence? He shared so many stories of people who faced setbacks, rejection, even failure, but they just kept going. They embodied that never-give-up attitude and ultimately achieved incredible things.
It's a powerful reminder that success is a journey, not a destination. It's about welcoming the challenges, learning from those mistakes, and never letting go of the dream.
And it's interesting, he encouraged us to tap into that sixth sense, that connection to infinite intelligence for guidance. Whether we call it intuition, inspiration, or divine guidance, it's about accessing that deeper well of wisdom and creativity within us to overcome those obstacles and achieve anything we set our minds to.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered the essence of Think and Grow Rich. It's a guide to unlocking our potential and creating a life of abundance, not just in terms of material wealth, but in every area of our lives. It's been such a pleasure diving into these ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, remember, You have the power to achieve anything you set your mind to. Believe in yourself, take action, and never, ever give up on your dreams.